Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a rainy night over here in Eastlake, Ohio with the Cleveland Sports 360 show and your host, LG. LG, take it away.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. We have an exciting guest, the unsung hero of the Cleveland Indians 2013 season. It is none other than Mickey Callaway, the Tribes pitching coach. And if you watched Indians baseball this year, you already know that the starting rotation for the Cleveland Indians was second to none in the Major League Baseball in the second half of the season. This team came together, and the pitching staff did a phenomenal job. None other than Mickey Callaway will be joining us all the way from Memphis, Tennessee. As you know, the Tribe were eliminated from postseason play by missing the wild card win against the Tampa Bay Rays. It's funny that Mickey Callaway started his Major League Baseball career. He was drafted and he landed with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in 1999. He pitched very well for the Rays, and then he actually won a World Series ring with the Angels. Mickey Callaway's played baseball all over the world, folks. He went to Asia, and he played with the Hyundai Unicorns and Korea Baseball Organization. He was a two-time League All-Star in 05 and 06. He combined for 30 wins, 16-9 in 2005, and he was 14-7 in 2006. You wonder why the Indians made such strides this year. They brought in a World Series winning manager in Terry Francona, who was smart enough to take the advice of Mark Shapiro and bring in the unsung hero of the Cleveland Indians starting pitching rotation, Mickey Callaway, who's joining us live all the way from Memphis right now. Mickey, are you with us?
I am. How you guys doing?
Oh, fantastic. Hey, congratulations on a fantastic season. You really pulled this starting rotation together, and you are what I call the unsung hero of the Cleveland Indians for the 2013 season, Mr. Callaway.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, it's our pleasure. Hey, tell us, I saw Francona's back to work already today. He's making some coaching changes. He moved Sandy Alomar off the bench coaching position, and he's putting him over there on first base. He's moving the Brad Mills to the bench position, and he's moving Mike over to the third base coaching position. But obviously, Mickey Callaway will be back in the pitching coach position for the 2014 season. Is that correct?
Yes, that sounds like what he's going to do, and I think it's going to benefit the whole team and the whole staff in general.
Hey, having a big-time guy like Sandy Alomar on the Cleveland Indians and putting him in the bench coach position, last year at this time we were wondering if Sandy Alomar would even be back with the Cleveland Indians organization. Can you just tell us, what do people, the players, they have to, especially a guy like Yan Gomes, who is a vital part of your pitching staff this year, being able to call the right pitches at the right time behind the plate. What does a Sandy Alomar mean to a guy like Yan Gomes?
Oh, he's tremendous. Sandy has such a passion for the game and catching specifically, and he helped those guys. He and Santana tremendously, and Sandy's always on top of the catching and helping those guys out, and what a benefit for those guys to have him around.
Yeah, I've always been an Alomar fan back in the days. 97. This guy was a hero, the all-star catcher that he was, and then his brother Roberto. The Alomar name really goes hand in hand with the Cleveland Indians because we don't ever want to see Sandy Alomar leave. Although one day I suspect he will be a major league manager somewhere someday. He's just too good to hold back. Would you agree with that, Mickey?
No doubt. I'm sure that, someday he'll get a shot to manage. He's got such a good baseball IQ, and, like I said before, he has such a great passion for the game, and he would make a great manager one day.
Mr. Callaway, a lot of people don't realize where you came from and how you began with the Indians organization, but actually you started with the organization right across the street behind me at the Lake County Captains. It's a little dark out the window now. You can't see it on the video, but we're right across the street from the Lake County Captains Stadium. Tell us, what did it mean to join the Indians organization for Mickey Callaway?
It was really just a great opportunity. They have a reputation for really treating their coaches the right way and developing them the right way so they can go on and be major league coaches. I think, pretty much every year we've got guys leaving our minor league organization to go on to major league jobs. So that was one of the real things I noticed about the Cleveland Indians and getting the opportunity with them. And when I ended up getting there, I mean, it was just tremendous the way we were treated. From Mark Shapiro on down, they do a great job of developing us and making us feel like family.
There's a lot of talk about Sealing getting ready to retire in the 2015 season, I believe it was. And there's a lot of talk about Mark Shapiro being the next commissioner of Major League Baseball. I know Mr. Shapiro doesn't really like to discuss that because it's too far off into the future. But what kind of a commissioner of Major League Baseball do you think Mark Shapiro would make?
Oh, he would be tremendous. He's such a good people person and very intelligent and loves baseball, with all his heart. So, baseball would be lucky to have him in that position, that's for sure.
Just the headaches that go along with it, with dealing with a personality like Alex Rodriguez, I could imagine that would give you enough to take some kind of stomach medicine after the day's over. But going back to the Cleveland Indians, Mickey, you did a fantastic job with this starting rotation, and I don't know if you heard the chatter coming out of Cleveland and all around the United States in the Major League Baseball. Coming into the season, the Cleveland Indians starting pitching rotation was very suspect. There was a lot of people that didn't think that this starting rotation would carry the Tribe as deep into the season as they did. I mean, you took a Ubaldo Jimenez, Justin Masterson, McAllister. You guys were blessed with Danny Salazar coming up and being as great as he was. But let's talk about the one guy that a lot of people were thinking should be on a bus out of the city of Cleveland, and that's none other than Ubaldo Jimenez. How did you get to straighten out Ubaldo Jimenez?
Well, I think it was just probably a combination of the guys that have worked with him in the past, and then mainly Ubaldo himself. I mean, he'd been determined from the first time he got in a Cleveland uniform to have success. And, unfortunately, you go through little phases in your career where you have ups and downs, and he was kind of on a down cycle for a couple of years. And, he bounced back this year through hard work. And, I mean, he was just determined to pitch well for us, and that's what he went out there and did. It was fun working with him. And, we took things slow and made sure that he kept his confidence along the way, and was able to go out there and compete while working on mechanical things, and he was able to do that, and it kind of paid off this second half of the season for him.
Now, being a successful Major League Baseball pitcher like yourself and going to the World Series and having all kinds of experience playing all around the world, were you able to pick up on any one particular thing that Ubaldo was having a problem with, and when you got to that point, it all of a sudden clicked, and then all of a sudden Ubaldo was the Ubaldo of old again, or how did that happen?
I just watched his video this offseason and figured that what we needed to do was make him an athlete again. He'd kind of slowed his mechanics down and, was kind of stagnant throughout his delivery instead of being the good athlete that he was. And, and just kind of pulling from, my days over in Korea and Taiwan and overseas playing, that I think that really helped me kind of deal with him in a different way, really understand that no matter how much money you're making or who you are, when you go to a different country and you're trying to perform or play, and live in a different country for your job, it's a difficult thing to do. So, I think it helped me, kind of identify with him on a personal level and was able to gain his trust, through some of that the relationship that we built.
Yeah, he's a fantastic pitcher, and I know this is probably an unfair question to ask of Mickey Callaway, but what are the chances of Ubaldo Jimenez landing in Cleveland? Do you have any insight there? Does Ubaldo want to return and remain with the Cleveland Indians?
I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm sure he would be glad to be a Cleveland Indian again. He's got a lot of great friends, and, we care for him, tremendously. Not just because of the way he pitched, but, the first person he is. So, we'd be lucky to have him back if he decides to do that.
Well, that'd be a fantastic signing. I just hope the Indians are able to produce what it's going to take to bring Ubaldo back. I mean, 13 wins and 13 strikeouts in his last appearance. I would say every 13th game you guys should start pitching him. What do you think of that logic?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Change his jersey number to 13. Tell him LG said that will work. But I tell you, it was such a pleasure to see this starting rotation come together. And, I have to give you a lot of credit because you took a rotation. Look at Scott Kazmir. Did you guys realize what you had when you first saw him in spring training? Or did the time off really affect him and you guys were thinking, wow, this is going to be a project under development? Tell us a little bit about the Scott Kazmir story because this guy had a fantastic season in an Indians uniform as well.
He really did. Coming into the season, we didn't know a whole lot about him and where he was currently other than, what he did in winter ball. He played winter ball for our AA manager, Edwin Rodriguez. So, Edwin had said some good things and said his velocity had started creeping up there and coming back. And, coming into spring training, we didn't, it was kind of up in the air. We knew that he was going to be battling for a starting job, and we'd give him every opportunity to do that. And when he came to spring training the first time he played catch, we all kind of looked at each other and like, wait a minute, this guy might be right again. The ball was coming out of his hand, really well, and we were excited to get a look at what he was going to be able to do. And he just got better and better each outing of spring training and each outing through the season, really, and ended up having a terrific year for us. So we were definitely fortunate to be able to have him this year, especially at the price that we had to pay for him. So, we kind of lucked out there, and he did a tremendous job of going out there and battling for us every fifth start.
Mickey, a lot of people thought that the starting rotation was going to be suspect coming into the 2013 season, and we had a great deal of confidence in the Tribes bullpen. But it was obviously flip-flopped this year, and we had some issues in the bullpen, and it was the starting rotation that was really the solid factor in the Indian success, especially from the mound. Tell us a little bit about Vinny Pistano. Where is he at, and what do you think the future is going to hold for Vinny Pistano?
Vinny's in a good spot right now. Really worked hard throughout the second half of the season trying to get himself back to where he was, last year and the year before. I'm sure he's looking forward to a little off time right now and then coming back fresh and working out and coming into spring training ready. We talked a little bit about some mechanical issues that he had when he was struggling, and hopefully he'll be able to iron those out this winter and come back, to the Vinny Pistano of old. But he's in good state of mind right now and ready to come back next year and be the same guy we've seen before.
Now, being the pitching coach, obviously you know firsthand that nobody's tougher on himself than Vinny Pistano. How do you take a guy like Pistano with that hot Italian temper and calm him down a little bit so he doesn't do further damage to his own personal being and get him back into the right frame of mind to be the Pistano of old?
I think that's obviously the challenge with any pitcher. These guys are such competitors that, when things start to kind of snowball on them, it's my job as a pitching coach to kind of, intervene and make sure that I do it in the right way. For Vinny, he's probably one of the biggest competitors that we have, and you can tell when he runs out on that field to take that mound, he means business. So, sometimes you just got to pull back a little bit and not over-compete and just think a little bit about, what it is you need to accomplish and what it is you need to do to get yourself right. And I think he did that the second half of the season when he was in AAA, made a couple outings with us in September, and, all of his work was really good, and we were pleased with what he was currently doing.
Now, you're a guy that obviously experienced some elbow problems, and that's what helped take you out of Major League Baseball. And when you deal with a guy like Pistano, who's been through the elbow problems, and then he had some discomfort in his throwing arm this year, is it easier for a guy like you to understand what Vinny Pistano is going through compared to a pitching coach who maybe never had a problem like that?
It'd probably be tough to find a pitching coach out there that pitched for a while that didn't have any arm problems, but, that kind of comes with the job. Anytime that these professional pitchers, these professional athletes are out there competing, they probably don't feel 100%. There's very few times that you do go out there and feel 100%. And, being a guy that had to play, through some injuries and some pain, I can identify with that. And I think the main thing to remember, this is a very difficult sport, from a mental standpoint and a physical standpoint. And, when you're dealing with these guys on a daily basis, you have to remember that. And, it's easy to kind of sit there and go, hey, you need to do this and do that. But it's sometimes hard to remember how hard it is to actually do what you're asking of these guys. And, a little patience and a little listening goes a long way in dealing with those guys.
Well, that was probably what helped you be so successful, because you know where these guys are coming from because you've been there before. But, let's talk about Pistano's elbow for a minute. Is it okay?
Yeah, I think he's healthy. I think his shoulder and elbow are healthy. He feels like he's in a good spot. We just got to get him mechanically right again to where the ball's going to be coming out, with that good, true cut that we saw before. So I think he's going to be good to go in spring training.
Well, that's fantastic news, especially for the viewers. Vinny Pistano has always been a big favorite of the Cleveland fans, and I think it has a lot to do with the intensity that Vinny brings right out of the gate of the bullpen. As you said, when he comes running out on the field, you don't see too many guys that intense coming out. And he's hard on himself, especially if he gives up a hit or God forbid, a home run. He'd probably destroy the clubhouse afterwards. But, it's great to see a competitor like that in the Cleveland Indians uniform, and I wish him and you the best of luck for many years to come. Let's talk about some other guys. You talked about Scott Kazmir. He got better and better and better as the season progressed. What about McAllister and Kluber? Those are two guys that you have to probably put in the same category as a guy like Kazmir. Would you agree?
Definitely, those guys made some really good adjustments throughout the season. Those are two guys we had in the minor leagues when I was the pitching coordinator, and it was fun to see them have success in the major leagues. They did a great job of really learning how to get through a full major league season this year, and learning how to pitch inside and use all their pitches and make sure that they stick with their strengths. And it was really fun to watch. And I think we're going to see two starting pitchers next year that are going to be even better just because of the experience they had this year.
And not only that, they both. I mean, Kluber was just unbelievable to watch this season. He looked confident when he was out there in control of the game. I mean, would you agree that this guy found a newfound confidence in Major League Baseball that maybe he didn't have as much of before?
Definitely. I think anytime anytime you have a little more experience, you're going to gain that confidence, and he continued to gain it throughout the season just because of, obviously, the success helped him, but just being more comfortable at the major league level. I think both of those guys, as we continue their careers, that they're going to, gain more and more confidence, and they're going to be in our rotation for a long time to come.
Well, we got a message here from Nicole Dog Pound Diva Bly from Columbus, Ohio. She drives 2.5 hours each way to come and see the Indians game. She wanted us to tell you thanks for the great season, and she wishes you the best of luck next year, too. So that was from Nicole, the Dog Pound Diva. She's obviously a big-time Indians fan and a Browns fan. To Mickey Callaway. But, Mickey, let's talk about Justin Masterson. Where do you see this guy spending time next year? Is he going to be the Tribe's new closer, or you guys have plans to bring him back as the ace? Is he going to be in the starting rotation, or is it too premature to talk about that yet?
Oh, no, he's definitely going to be our ace next year. He's the leader of our staff, and he's going to be our number one guy again next year, and we're looking for another great year out of him. He was tremendous this year, pounded the zone with his fastball and slider, and we're looking forward to him leading our staff again next year.
Yeah, that guy's a fantastic pitcher too, and he really came out smoking this year, and he did a great job. It was a shame to see him get injured coming down the stretch. And you know what was really great to see how these guys picked it up, and they won the last 10 games of the regular season. I mean, that's unprecedented in the Cleveland Indians history there, and it was fantastic to get the wild card spot. You being a former Tampa Rays player, couldn't you give us some insight? We should have beat those guys, right?
Yeah, it would have been nice. Those guys, they have a great team, you know, and obviously their manager does a great job, and putting together a team, you know, that goes out there and competes every day. And you know, I thought we played them well. Danny pitched a great game, and you know, obviously their guy pitched a really good game. So it was a good playoff game to watch from both sides.
Now, you being the pitching coach, and most of the time, I mean, not most of all of the time, you're in the dugout during the game. Do you work? You also work with the bullpen guys too, right?
Yeah, definitely. You know, anytime they need some mechanical adjustment or anything that we feel they need to work on, obviously the bullpen coach Kevin Cash and I communicate a lot, and we talk to those guys and try to get them right. But you know, most of the time you just leave those bullpen guys alone. They have a way about, you know, going about their business, and they do a tremendous job. Obviously, we had a couple guys that probably didn't have the years they would have liked to have, but you know, from a bullpen standpoint, they were valuable to us, you know, throughout the year. You know, CP obviously had some arm issues. Vinny had some arm issues, and took some time to recover. But when they were pitching, you know, it was good to have them out there. You know, we have confidence in those guys, and we're looking forward to having another strong bullpen next year.
You know, a lot of people were kind of hard on Chris Perez, and I noticed in the game where Giambi hit the pinch hit walk-off home run, I think that was the last home game, if I'm not correct, of the regular season. Mm-hmm. And he had a rough outing. There's no two ways about it. But, you know, a lot of fans don't understand what it takes to go out there night after night and the torque that's on the human arm of throwing a pitch 90-some miles an hour continuously. And CP came into the 2013 season, if I'm not correct, you correct me, Mickey, but he had some shoulder issues that stopped him from taking part into the World Baseball play. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, right. He was getting ready for that World Baseball Classic in spring training, had some shoulder issues, and kind of set him back. And you know, he took some time bouncing back from that, and then he had another shoulder issue during the season. You know, maybe a month and a half into the season that he had to battle through. So, you know, it was a tough year for him, just physically. And you know, I thought he did a good job when he got out there. You know, obviously. He probably thought he could pitch better, but when he was out there, he was our closer, and you know, he had such a good ability to bounce back and go out there and be the same guy every night, no matter, you know, if he's, you know, pitching well or not. So it was good to have him out there when he was going well.
You know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, you got to remember the good times we've had with Chris Perez too, and it's, you know, unfortunately he's in the hot seat. There's no other guy in the pitching that you guys have that is in more of a hot seat than the closer, right?
Definitely right. It's one of the hardest jobs in baseball. You got to be able to put the loss the night before behind you and come out the next night and try to get another save. And that's one of the reasons he was such a good closer, is he was able to do that really well. You know, and he'll continue to be a good closer in the future just because he has that ability that not a lot of people have, is to go out there, forget what happened the day before, and go out there and attack hitters the next day. And, you know, sometimes that's tough to do for people.
Oh, absolutely. You got to have a short-term memory, and
that's right.
He's exhibited that well. And we've had some good years with Chris Perez, and I think some of the fans need to realize he didn't completely bomb the entire 2013 season. He had some arm issues, some shoulder issues throughout the season. He started off the season with a shoulder issue. We got to cut the guy a little bit of slack. I'm not really sure what the organization's going to do as far as going forward with Chris Perez, because you know yourself, Mickey, that when you get up into a certain range of money, they take a hard look at what they're going to do as far as bringing you back. But I wish him all the best of luck, and I'm sure he'll land back on his feet if he's in an Indian uniform. Hopefully he'll forget about what happened at the end of this season and go on doing what he's done for so many years. And he's done well here. I congratulate the man. He's had some issues on and off the field, and he did a fantastic job. Now let's talk about a lot of people want to know, Mickey, when you got a pitcher and he's out on that mound and you see him starting to struggle, they always see Mickey Callaway coming out of the dugout, making that walk over to the mound. What in the hell do you tell these guys?
I go out there and really just mainly talk about the hitter that's coming up, and we try to figure out a plan of attack. And I ask them what they feel like they need to attack this guy with, and if they're convicted in it, then I don't give them really any advice. If there's a little bit of doubt there, I might step in and say, hey, we need to attack this guy in or away and make sure we bury the slider against this guy. But I just try to give them a little breather, give them a little break, and make sure that they're focused on the guy that's coming up to the plate.
So when you go out there, basically you already have a game plan. You guys scouted every player that's going to go up to bat in whatever team you're going to play. You know what pitches that these guys should be going after these hitters with, right?
Yeah, definitely. We try to prepare on a daily basis for, the way we're going to attack the opposing hitters. And, we have a good game plan in mind, and we just try to make sure that our pitchers remember what we want to do with these guys, sometimes.
Now, Mickey, I can't help but to notice you were a pretty good hitter, too, when you played Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I went 2 for 3. I got to hit my Major League debut. Those are only 3 ABs I got. I hit 2 choppers into the ground and legged them out. So I wasn't a great hitter, but that was the first time I hit since high school, so it was fun.
Right, 2 for 3. That's pretty substantial for a pitcher, don't you think? A pitcher that doesn't play in the National League, right?
Yeah, it was fun, that's for sure.
I remember last season, I think it was, when Fasto Carmona, or whatever his name is these days, Roberto Hernandez, was laying one out down in Cincinnati, and the upper half of his body was trying to run to first base faster than the lower half of his body, and he darn near killed himself going into first base.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing when it comes to hitting. That's why we're pitchers.
But that was my fiance. Every time they replayed that, she had to make it a point to watch it because she thought that was the funniest thing she ever saw. And I said, honey, he got hurt. But I remember the entire Indians bullpen coming out and cracking up laughing when that happened. It's a good thing they keep you guys off the baselines if that's the case, right? But
that's right.
Let's talk about what this kid Danny Salazar is going to mean to the Cleveland Indians. Is it possible that we found the caliber pitcher that's comparable, and I know he didn't have a great year this year, the guy I'm going to bring up next, Verlander. Verlander had a little bit of an off year. Compared to Verlander numbers, he was still a phenomenal pitcher. Do you think that this Danny Salazar is the caliber pitcher that we see in a guy like Justin Verlander?
Oh, he definitely could be. I don't think there's really a limit you can put on Danny. Just the way he goes about his business, how composed he is at such a young age, and then obviously his stuff is electric. So he can definitely be in that caliber, and we're looking forward to seeing Danny next year with no pitch counts and no, innings restrictions, and I think he's going to do a tremendous job for us.
Now, fill our viewers in a little bit. Why was he on such a strict pitch count for people that may not know why you guys do this?
It's really just an effort to keep guys healthy. And, he's such a young pitcher and such a good prospect that we wanted to make sure that we have him for years to come. And, he was 2 years removed from Tommy John surgery and was limited the year after surgery, so we wanted to make sure that we didn't increase his innings by a ton so he would stay healthy, and have a nice, healthy, long career. It's mainly about the player, and we want to make sure we take care of these guys and make sure that that they, go on to have a long career. So we definitely made sure that we kept him kind of limited to a point, towards the end there when we were trying to make the playoffs, we kind of let him go a little bit, but he did a good job every day preparing, and, he's going to be healthy for years to come.
Now, when you look at Danny Salazar and how hard this kid throws the baseball, it doesn't even look like he's making that much of an effort at it, Mickey. Is he throwing the ball as hard as he can when you see it hit 100 miles an hour, or what?
I think he's using his body to the best he can, and that translates into him looking like he's not trying to throw very hard. He's got tremendous mechanics. He gets himself into great positions, uses his legs for power and makes sure his arm catches up and is on time, and gets that lead front arm high and is able to leverage the ball down. So, all those mechanical things that he does right kind of leads to that effortless delivery and velocity that he gets.
Yeah, he looks so comfortable out there. You guys showed a great deal of confidence in this kid. Obviously, you brought him up from AAA midway through the season, and then you let him start the one game that meant everything as far as if the season was going to be over or fall play was going to continue. What was Terry Francona's thought process, if you could share that, putting Danny Salazar, the kid, out there to face the one game that would eliminate the Tribe, man?
I think it came down to, the way guys were pitching at the end. And obviously we needed Ubaldo to pitch the last game of the season to make sure that we were able to play that game. And, Salazar was probably the next best guy going into that game, and he was lined up on that day. And we had all the confidence in the world in him. The way he pitched in that Detroit game that time kind of put him on the map as far as, us trusting him. So he did a tremendous job in all of his 11 starts, and, we felt very comfortable with him going out there and pitching for us.
Now, is this kid as cool as he looks or behind the scenes? Does he have any nerves or what?
Yeah, he is. He's like George Gervin, the Iceman. I mean, it's really unbelievable. I mean, you watch him warm up and he's relaxed, and like he's come out and said, when he's on the mound, that's when he feels most comfortable.
And he looks it too.
He believes in himself, and he goes and attacks the hitter.
And I tell you, Mickey, he looks comfortable out there, man. He's going to be a sensational pitcher. Hopefully everything works out well for him and the Indians. And we have this kid for a long, long time, because that's exactly what the doctor ordered. And you guys really filled the prescription exactly at the right time when you needed to bring this kid up. I remember it was a daytime game in his debut, and the guy just struck out the first 6, didn't he?
Yes, something like that. I think he set to some kind of strikeout record, but he was really good, that's for sure.
I remember a lot of people were going, who? Danny Salazar, that's who. But yeah, I'm glad you guys kept him. I mean, what a find. I mean, it's unbelievable. And 23 years old, right? He's only 23, right?
Right, yeah. So he's a young guy that's going to get better and better.
Unbelievable, man. I can't wait to see this kid get better, because if he gets much better, he'll be unhittable, and that's exactly what we need. So it'd be great, man. Masterson, Salazar, Jimenez. I'm praying to God every night that we find a way to keep Ubaldo here. Hopefully he feels comfortable in a Cleveland Indians uniform, and the Indians can make the right kind of offer to keep him here. What about Joe Smith? What's your take on this guy? I mean, he's obviously got an unconventional delivery, the way he pitches and stuff. How tough is a Joe Smith delivery on the human arm?
Actually, the way he throws the ball, it's a little more natural than, what a traditional pitcher does. Anytime you start lowering your arm slot and dropping down, it's a little easier on your shoulder and elbow. You see those softball pitchers all the time. They pitch every single day, 150 pitches, is because, they have that low slot that doesn't put a lot of pressure on your elbow and your shoulder. So, he's going to be healthy for a long time, and, he's obviously a great pitcher to have on your staff. He goes out there every night and gives you, quality inning, and is able to get righties and lefties out, and he does a tremendous job in that eighth inning role that he's in.
It's fantastic. A lot of people, Mickey, and I know you're just a pitching coach, but you're pretty high up there in the Indians organization as far as coaching goes. I got to ask you this. A lot of people think for the Indians to be successful, we need one more stick in the lineup, and a big stick at that. What's your thought on that?
Obviously, anytime you have hitting, that helps. I personally think that pitching and defense is the way to win games, and the way our guys and the players that we have currently, the way they play the game together, and how many guys that we have can hit 20 homers and put the ball in the ballpark, and the way our bench is, I think our lineup's fine as long as we continue to pitch. And who knows what would have happened, if we would have gotten through that wild card game. So we put ourselves in a good position to win, and we're going to win again next year.
You can't believe how much I wanted to see Terry Francona and the Tribe make a trip into Fenway Park. I mean, that would have made the entire, even if the Indians went to Fenway Park and just battled with the Red Sox, that would have made my year, because I know how much that would have meant to Terry Francona to make a trip into the playoffs with his Cleveland Indians against the Boston Red Sox. Was there ever any discussion on that, Mickey?
No, not really. We were trying to keep it a game at a time, but obviously, if that would have happened, that would have been tremendous. It was such a good atmosphere and such a good vibe when we went there, early in the season, just to play a regular season game. I can't imagine what it would have been like in the playoffs.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, especially going into Fenway Park. I mean, it would have been an exciting thing, especially with Terry Francona. No matter what he says, I think somewhere it would have really made him a happy guy to go back there with his. And you know what? There's always next year, and you guys are looking forward to it already, right?
Definitely. We're leaving tomorrow to go to Arizona to have some meetings on our young players coming up, and that might contribute next year. So we're already preparing for next year and ready to go.
So what do you think? You can see a successful Indians team coming back onto the field for the 2014 season. Is that correct?
No doubt, and I think we're going to be even better. Just our young core of guys that have experience now, Yan Gomes and those guys. Kipnis had a tremendous season. Those guys, in Lonnie Chisenhall coming on and playing like he did at the end with that playoff game. I mean, those guys are exciting guys, and we're looking forward to watch them in 2014 and winning again, that's for sure.
Now let's talk about Yan Gomes for a second. He was almost like an add-on deal coming from the Toronto Blue Jays. We really got to send them a thank you card for beating up on the Tampa Bay Rays a little bit and knocking them down 2 games, and that really helped you guys get the home field advantage, if I'm not correct. If I'm correct. And Yan Gomes really developed into something special for the Cleveland Indians, isn't that right?
He really did. His preparation and his ability to be able to, put a game plan into effect during the game was tremendous. So, it was really good to have him back there kind of leading the pitching staff, that second half of the season. Anytime that you have catchers back there that understand how to hit and understand, how you need to attack a hitter, it really helps the pitching staff, and he did a tremendous job of that.
Yeah, because like I said, it was like a rare find. Nobody expected anything out of Yan Gomes, and yet he comes into Cleveland. He's obviously a great hitter, and he's got a great arm behind that plate, too. That really has got to help a pitcher a little bit, huh?
Yeah, definitely. It lets you relax a little bit. When you got that runner on first or runner on second, you might not have to worry about the running game as much, and you can focus on getting those hitters out, which is your main job.
So a lot of people don't know this, but there's really no off time for you coaches, is there? You're heading out to Arizona tomorrow, you're having some meetings, and you're planning on the 2014 season already. Is that right? That's
right. We got to make sure that we keep in touch with these players throughout the off season, make sure that we have a good feel for where they're at, and when they come into spring training, we have meetings throughout the winter, and just trying to put another team together for next year.
Well, that's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to see it, Mickey. I wish you guys all the continued luck. And is there anything else you want to tell the fans or anything while we have you here?
No, just a big thank you for all their support this year, and we're looking forward to performing for them next year. It's fun to play in our ballpark. That atmosphere during that playoff game was something special, and it was probably louder than anything I've ever heard. So that was a really fun time, and we really appreciate our fans, that's for sure.
And I'll tell you, Mickey, I think with what you guys proved at the end of the year that this team is for real and it has some depth to the talent there. And you guys had a great bench with Swisher calling them the Goon Squad over there. You guys got the Goon Squad, so you had some depth in the players, and you brought guys in and out of the games at certain times that really made a difference. I think people are going to start to take this Cleveland Indians team a little serious. The last couple of seasons with Manny Acta, and it's not really Manny's fault. He just didn't motivate these guys or something. After the All-Star break, the fans saw the team kind of fold up a little bit, and I don't think they came out and supported the Cleveland Indians in the way that they should have for the 2013 season, because I personally thought you guys were going to pull this off and make it into the playoffs through the entire 2013 season. I mean, I looked at what you were doing with this pitching squad, and I was thinking to myself, this guy's a magician. So, it was a fantastic job. Congratulations, and I wish you the best. I want to thank you so much for taking part in the Cleveland Sports 360 show, and hopefully we can do it again sometime when you guys get into the playoffs next fall. What do you say, Mickey?
That sounds perfect. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, it was my pleasure. We're going to let you go. I don't want to tie you up too much longer. You probably got bags to pack. And like I said again, thank you so much for taking part in the show and many years of continued success in the Cleveland Indians uniform, Mickey.
Much appreciated. Thanks a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mickey Callaway, the Tribes pitching coach, the unsung hero of this 2013 Cleveland Indians team. I'm going to tell you right now, this guy, he pulled magic out of the hat, and he put a great starting rotation together for this Cleveland Indians. If you watched a lot of Indians baseball, especially after the All-Star break, the Cleveland Indians had one of the best, if not the best, starting pitching rotation in all of Major League Baseball. We're going to take a commercial break here on the Cleveland Sports 360 show to pay a few bills. We'll come back and wrap things up. We want to thank our special guest, Mickey Callaway, the unsung hero of the 2013 Cleveland Indians. We'll be back with more of the Cleveland Sports 360 show right here on StreamingSportsTalk.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a beautiful Monday night. Well, it ain't so beautiful out there unless you like rain or you're a duck. We're going to go right back to Cleveland Sports 360 with your host, LG. Take it away, buddy.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cleveland Sports 360 show. I am your host, LG, the voice of Cleveland Sports. If you missed it, it's your own fault. We just got done interviewing Mickey Callaway, the Cleveland Indians' unsung hero, the Tribes pitching coach that put this rotation together to start for the Cleveland Indians during the 2013 season. And if you watch this team this year, you'll know Ubaldo Jimenez did a fantastic job. Corey Kluber, Danny Salazar, Scott Kazmir, Justin Masterson, McAllister. You know.
LG, I got a pipe in there. I'll tell you what, Mr. Callaway, Mickey Callaway, pitching coach for the Cleveland Indians. What a gentleman, huh? And
class act.
I thought
that's
you guys,
all I got to say.
Yeah, and that was a very good interview. I think the fans got a different insight to the Cleveland Indians.
You'd have to take a different insight, especially with the way that this tribe cares for their players, man.
Right.
I mean, you know, a lot of sports teams, in a lot of ways, you see the people being released or people being cut off of National Football League teams.
Right.
You think these are heartless organizations, but obviously the Cleveland Indians takes a great deal of care in making sure that these guys stay healthy. They expect them to be back with the team next year. They don't just use a guy up and then pitch him into the trash can.
Right.
And that shows that this Cleveland Indians organization, all the way from Mark Shapiro down, is a class act, including Mickey Callaway. And I just can't give the guy enough praise for the job he did bringing this team together this year for the 2013 Cleveland Indians. I know they fell short of making the big-time playoffs, but they did a hell of a job just getting the wild card. A lot of people don't realize we only finished one game behind the Detroit Tigers for the American League Central Division. 2 more wins against Detroit this year, the Cleveland Indians would have secured the American League Central crown. You know what? That's pretty damn good, Leaf.
And LG, you know what? I agree. No one expected this at the beginning of the season, definitely not in the middle. Then near the end there, they're going, holy smokes, look at our Cleveland Indians.
Unbelievable.
You know what? I praise them. They did fantastic. To me, they had a stellar year.
Unbelievable. Well, I got to switch gears a little bit here, Leaf, and
go
back into the, just go back, ladies and gentlemen. The show will be posted on Facebook and YouTube later on. The Mickey Callaway interview is a great interview. If you're an Indians fan, you don't want to miss it. Go back and watch the replay if you're tuning in late. We let Mickey go early so he can get packed. He's heading to Goodyear, Arizona to meet with the rest of the Indians coaching staff to plan out the 2014 season. There's no days off in baseball for all you people that think these guys are out fishing. They're working tomorrow. So that's going to be an inspiration to the city of Cleveland to see this Indians ball team take to the field. And I can't wait to see it. But let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about our Cleveland Browns, who are sharing first place right now with the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals, who did a fantastic job yesterday shutting down Tom Brady and his New England Patriots. There's been a lot of talk today about the Cleveland Browns trying to trade Josh Gordon to the San Francisco 49ers. People were whining when we got rid of that bust-out Trent Richardson. Richardson hasn't done squat for the Indianapolis Colts. He had 56 yards rushing yesterday, 30 yards in one game. The guy didn't even crack 150 yards in 3 games for the Indianapolis Colts yet. He is a bust. If people were crying over the Trent Richardson trade, we got a first-round draft pick. We don't know what number it will be in the first round because it has a lot to do with where the Colts finished this season. It looks right now it's going to be higher up, 26, 27, who knows. The Colts are currently 4-1 on the season. It's not looking good to get a number 3 overall pick back. We didn't expect we would get a 3 overall pick back, but we didn't expect a guy like Mike Holmgren to waste 2 first-round draft picks on Trent Richardson and Brandon Weeden. Now, when we talk about Brandon Weeden, that brings up a whole nother can of worms. Obviously, our man, Brian Hoyer, who came in and did a fantastic job winning his first 2 starts in a Cleveland Browns uniform, who is why the Cleveland Browns are in first place in the AFC North Division. It's Brian Hoyer, who we pray comes through this repair to his ACL in just as good a shape, if not better shape, than what we lost him. This guy is fantastic. His football knowledge is second to none. I heard Bernie Kosar last week before the Thursday night game talking about Brian Hoyer and his football intelligence being right up there with the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Bradys of the NFL. And I'm going to tell you, that's an elite group of people to group Brian Hoyer with. And his football intellect is that high, folks. This kid came in. He took the same offensive line we seen Brandon Weeden struggling with, and he made it work for him. He took a few sacks, no doubt about it. You got to remember, folks, the NFL is breeding defenses these days to get to that quarterback, and that tells you how successful your defense is going to be. What bothers me is if this Browns organization is deeply sincere about trading Josh Gordon to the San Francisco 49ers, there'll be suicides taking place in the city of Cleveland. These people were whining over a bust-out trade like Trent Richardson. What are they going to do when they trade the beast, Josh Gordon, who is a playmaker, for this Cleveland Browns organization? I think the Browns would be making a horrific mistake to get rid of Josh Gordon. This kid is only 2 years into the NFL. He's not even through his second season yet. Sure, he's made a couple mistakes in the past. One more strike, you could lose the services of Josh Gordon for an entire NFL season, if not a lifetime ban for the substance abuse policy. We got to take Josh Gordon under somebody's wing, and we got to counsel this guy to keep his nose clean and abide by the substance abuse policy rules that go along with being an NFL player. He wants to be a household name. He wants to be a good example. It's time for Josh Gordon to wake up, smell the coffee, and do the right thing by keeping his nose clean and every other part of his body, and not take any kind of controlled substance that's on that banned substance list. The Cleveland Browns would be making a terrible mistake to get rid of Josh Gordon to the San Francisco 49ers. This kid is a playmaker. What is the Browns going to do without him? That's what's worrisome. Are the Browns trying to tank this season? Is this the reason we saw Jimmy Haslam laughing last week because he couldn't believe Weeden came in and saved the game after Hoyer went down? And it wasn't Weeden alone, folks. It was Travis Benjamin on that touchdown, the punt return for a touchdown. It was the Browns defense with T.J. Ward making that last-minute interception and returning it for a touchdown. Those were 14 points the Browns scored on their way to romping the Buffalo Bills. And let's be honest, folks, if Manuel didn't get hurt in that game, would the Cleveland Browns beat the Buffalo Bills last week? If you pay attention to stats, you're going to realize the Cleveland Browns defense is slipping a little bit. Today I looked it up. They're 25th against the pass and 24th against the run, or swap them around, 20 whatever. They were in the top 5 last week. Total defense, we're still up there, I think, at 4 or 5 in the NFL, but this run and pass, when you separate it, it's a little bit bothersome. They let Spiller run in pretty well unscathed. I think it was a blown assignment by Mingo. We'll cut Mingo a little slack, seeing he's a rookie and it was only his second NFL start. I think the kid's going to continue to get better. We got to continue to put pressure on the quarterback. And this Sunday, folks, is going to be a giant test for this Cleveland Browns football team. They're taking on the Detroit Lions at home at First Energy Stadium, the home of the Cleveland Browns. And it's going to be a tough game trying to keep Matthew Stafford in check, because this kid has an arm, and it's unbelievable, especially if his number one weapon, Calvin Johnson, is back and healthy for this Sunday's game. I don't know if the Browns secondary is strong enough. Buster Skrine's doing a fantastic job. He's the most improved defensive player the Cleveland Browns have on the team this year. A lot of people want to talk about Joe Hayden being all-pro. You got to take a look at the job Buster Skrine is doing for the Cleveland Browns so far in the 2013 season. This kid has made leaps and bounds of improvements coming in, and I got to tell you, it's a little bit unfair to keep Buster under wraps and call him a bust out. There's people that wanted to kick his butt right off the Cleveland Browns team. That's not being fair, folks. This kid is being attacked by offenses. He's going to get the respect, the same kind of respect that Joe Hayden has. They throw towards screen a lot more because Hayden's reputation precedes him. People are a little bit afraid, but Buster, he's been doing a great job this year. Coming up with Brandon Whedon this Sunday, starting against the Detroit, Sioux is going to have a field day if this Whedon doesn't figure out a way to get rid of this football. He stands there too long because he's focused in on his primary receiver. He doesn't have the football IQ to scope out the entire field. He comes from Major League Baseball, or the minor leagues, obviously. He never made it into the major leagues. He failed in baseball, so he took up football, went to Oklahoma, played for 2 years, had a great season his senior year. They don't have the defense in that, They don't have it in the Big 12. Like you see in the National Football League. These are the fastest, the meanest, the best athletes in the world. And Brandon Whedon stands there and holds the ball way too long. He looks afraid. He's afraid to throw the football. He's afraid to get the hit. Brandon Whedon is going to get himself killed. I'm a little disappointed that the Browns let Josh Freeman sign with the Minnesota Vikings today. They didn't make a run at Freeman. There was some talk coming out of Berea last Friday that the Browns were thinking about getting Josh Freeman. For some reason or another, they decided to scrap that idea before it really went off and running. I'm sure Joe Banner must have talked to somebody. That's the word I got from my inside source at the Cleveland Browns facility. And I'm pretty good with these predictions because I told you Josh Gordon was going to be suspended weeks before it even happened. That's how we get the information here at the Cleveland Sports 360 show. Hey, if you haven't done it yet, go to Facebook, find our Cleveland Sports 360 Facebook page, click the like button for us. We got the USA Sports 360 page on Facebook. Please go there, click the like button for us. Follow us on Twitter at Cleve, C-L-E-V, Sports 360. So you can follow us on Twitter. You'll always see the updates we put on there many times during the day, every day, 365 days a year. Nobody keeps you better informed than the Cleveland Sports 360 team does. So get there, like us on Facebook, the Cleveland Sports 360 Facebook page. Follow us at Twitter at Cleve Sports 360, and you won't be disappointed. You will that you did it. I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week with another edition of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. Hopefully we're celebrating a Browns victory, but with Whedon at the quarterback position, I just don't have the same confidence in this Cleveland Browns football team as I had with Brian Hoyer over the last couple of starts. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, tomorrow night, it's the You Gotta Be Freaking Kidding Me show right here on StreamingSportsTalk.com. You can call us. It's area code 216-672-4300. Your host, Jeff Leaf, would love to hear from you. God bless you. Good night, and we'll see you next week with more of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. I'm your host, LG, the voice of Cleveland sports. Good night, and God bless you.